Women from a family of nomad herders walk out of the thorn scrub of the Kenya-Somalia border. The men are a day behind, leading their few livestock that have survived a decade of continuing and devastating droughts in this region. There's been no rain to speak of here since April 2008. They're putting up their shelters with a decision already made to abandon their old way of life and settle in a roadside community in the hope that somebody might help them. Hawa Hassan says they've travelled 25 kilometres. Her family's cattle are dead. It's the first time, she adds, they've come to live by the road. There's no water in the bush, she says, no food. And they've come here looking for assistance after talking about settling for 2 months. She would return to her old way of life if she could restock with animals, but she's happy for now to be where a bucket of water is a little easier to find, where she can beg for water from travellers on the road. Water. It's the key to surviving in this place for both animals and humans. In the dusty border town of Elwak, water trucks fill up at a borehole to ferry water to a nomad settlement called drought. Daro Mahat, the local water officer, explains the problem.
Since there is no permanent source of water at drought, they're only depending on subsurface flow tank, which has been exhausted, and the only option now is to truck for them water from here to that place with the trucks.
But even when water does reach the new nomad villages, it's often exhausted days before the next tanker delivery arrives. That leads to the sometimes desperate scenes that greet the truck's arrival. But when it comes, the water brings a sense of palpable relief. Clouds promise rain that does not fall on a burned land. The nomads could manage a cycle of droughts occurring once in a decade or so, but accelerating climate change increased the frequency of drought to 3 in the last 10 years, and now their coping strategies have failed. A herder passes a skeleton of a dead cow as he moves his animals to where he hopes there will be water and leaves and grass to forage. But it is a faint hope. Tribal leaders gathered in the town of Elwak described the crisis threatening their way of life with imminent extinction. Hassan Omar says herders have been forced to cross the borders into Somalia and Ethiopia, a risky strategy. He says too that it is not the way they live that has changed the weather, but the West that has brought this catastrophe upon them. Another elder, Bilal Salat, adds that the drought 4 years ago was the worst they could remember. Since then they have seen no grass. The wind blows away the seeds and scorches the thorn trees, and the drought is back again. Even for those who abandoned herding several years ago, life is gruelling. In this village, the reservoir is empty. A school has been promised by the government, but these Muslim former herders occupy the very margins of Kenyan life. Abdullahi Hilal has been here 2 years. He says it's tough. If he had cattle, he would have regretted settling down, but with no livestock, he adds, there is nothing to regret. The government and agencies are providing some relief, and he hopes for more. He says that once there was a life of plenty for the nomads, in his father's and in his forefathers' time, but life has changed. The droughts are more severe. It's what's forcing the nomads to leave their life in the rangerlands. I returned to the settlement where I met Hawa Hassan. Hawa isn't there, but other women are pounding tree bark with maize to feed the children. They also feed the goats some of their food. But often it's not possible to keep the animals alive. This elderly woman lying on the ground is suffering from malaria and malnutrition. It seems unlikely that she will survive. Dying too is the way of life of these nomads.